Have you ever felt that as a Muslim woman, there are not enough Islamic programs out there dedicated to just you? Have you ever had questions run through your mind about your role as a Muslim woman, your rights and responsibilities, or just general matters? Just Us Women is a program dedicated to you, the Muslim woman. Islam Life Radio has tailored Just Us Women to meet the needs of our Muslim sisters in order for them to gain authentic knowledge. Our host and teacher for this program, Ummu Maahir Ismaa'eel, will deliver and expand your minds on various topics related to women's fiqh, motivational talks, and how to be among the best women to earn Allah Azza wa Jal's pleasure in this life and the next, insha'Allah. So be sure to join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Just Us Women, brought to you by IslamLifeRadio.com.
Have you ever thought about what it takes to know the ledge? People say, know the ledge. What does that exactly mean? Well, let me see if I can sum it up for you in a short poem. Now is the time to show greatness and uplift. With knowledge and wisdom, we share the ultimate gift. We recognize our Creator who provides and sustains us, who gives our life balance and constantly maintains us. Our broadcast to the people is molded by truth. For the men and the women, and especially the youth, we reach out to those from all walks of life, no matter where you come from and no matter the type. Our goal is quite simple, and that's education and unity. With a smile and the salams, we embrace our community. There is no secret to success, just a desire to learn, because the blessings of Allah is what we seek to earn. So lend us an ear and bring an open mind, and be cautious, not careless, and be aware of the times. All it takes is one slip if you're living on life's edge, and unfortunately some fall because they don't know the ledge.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Are you experiencing a difficult situation? Going through stress, anxiety, confusion, or even depression? Perhaps something's troubling you and you don't know who to ask and where. Maybe you've done a sin and you don't know how to deal with it to make everything better and redeem yourself. You might even be wanting to consider marriage and have someone in mind, but don't know how to take the matter forward in a halal way. Are you looking for advice and guidance, which is also Islamically sound and authentic? If so, then your prayers have been answered. Islam Life Radio is now offering a free, confidential, anonymous, impartial, and non-judgmental counseling service based on the Quran and authentic Sunnah. Email us now at counseling@islamliferadio.com.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala sahbihi wa sallam. Welcome, dear sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our program this evening. We are returning now back to the book Fataawaa al-Mar'a, and in fact, this the program this evening is the fifth segment of this great book and collection of rulings regarding the woman. We open tonight with the ruling regarding discharge of blood that comes 5 days before giving birth, 5 days before labor. So the standing committee or the Lajna was asked, a woman had bleeding during pregnancy 5 days before giving birth during the month of Ramadan. Should that blood be considered menstruation or istihada? And what are the obligations upon her? So the scholars of the standing committee, the Lajna, responded by saying, if the matter is as mentioned, with her seeing blood 5 days before giving birth, and she did not have any signs that labor would be soon, such as contractions, in that case the blood is neither menstruation nor postpartum bleeding. It is simply irregular blood. Therefore, she should not abandon the acts of worship, but she must pray and she must fast and pray. If along with the blood she has signs that her labor is near, such as contractions, then it is considered postpartum bleeding, and she abandons due to it, praying and fasting. Then if she becomes pure after giving birth, she must make up the days of fasting, but not the prayers. So now we move to a question regarding the meaning of the word quru'. The word quru'. Now, Sheikh Ibn Jibreen says, or has stated here, that Allah says in the Quran, and it has been interpreted, and divorced women shall wait for 3 quru'. And this is found in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 228. So the Sheikh explained to this question, regarding this question, what is the meaning here of the word quru'? Then he explained that linguistically, quru' can mean the time of purity. It can also mean the menses itself. However, the correct meaning in the verse is the menses, and this is most often usage by the lawgiver, and it is the opinion of the majority of the companions. So again, regarding this word quru', which is found in Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, 228, this term here, we find the word quru', then it means, again, the Sheikh said, it means, it could mean the time of purity. So he says that the correct meaning in the verses of the menses is that it is the most often usage. Okay, again, make myself more clear here. That is referring to the term menses, menstruation, the term quru'. So now we turn to a question that was also posed to the Sheikh: breaking the fast due to menses and not making the days up due to shyness. So the Sheikh was asked, when I was young, about 13 years old, I fasted the month of Ramadan and I broke my fast on 4 days due to menses. However, due to shyness, I did not inform anyone about that. Now it has been 8 years since that event. What should I do? So Sheikh Jibreen responded, rahimahullah, by saying, you have made a mistake by not making up those days for all of this time. Menses is something that is prescribed by Allah upon the females, and there is no shyness when it comes to the religion or to the deen. You must quickly make up those 4 days, and then along with making up those days, you must also make an expiation by feeding a poor person for every day. You must give about 2 sa'i of the normal staple of food of the country to a poor person or poor persons. So this the term sa'i, he's saying, this is a weight. This is a weight of measuring, a way of measuring food stuff. So again, this is his opinion that you must give about 2 sa'i of the normal staple food of the country to a poor person or to poor persons. Okay, so now we look at a question regarding miscarriage. And in last week's segment, which was in part 4 of the series, we reviewed a question posed to Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, regarding miscarriage. Now the next question is, this question here now is being posed to Sheikh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah. So he was asked, a year ago I had a miscarriage in my 3rd month of pregnancy. I stopped praying until the blood stopped. It was said to me that I should have prayed. What should I do now, since I do not know the exact number of days I did not pray? So Sheikh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, responded by saying, what is well known and accepted among Ahlul Ilm, meaning the scholars, is that if a woman has a miscarriage in the 3rd month, she does not pray. This is because when the woman has such a miscarriage, the fetus has clear signs of being a human. Therefore, the blood that then flows is considered postpartum bleeding, and the woman does not pray. The ulama, or the scholars, say that the fetus take on a shape of a human after 81 days, which is less than 3 months. If you are certain that you had a miscarriage after 3 months, the blood that came was postpartum bleeding. However, he said, if it were before 80 days, then the blood that came is irregular or abnormal blood, and she should not leave the prayer due to it. So the one who asked the question must see if the miscarriage was before 80 days, in which case she must make up the prayers that she missed. If she does not know how many days she missed, she must estimate the matter and make up what she believes that she has missed. So now we come to a question that has been posed to Sheikh Jibreen rahimahullah, and it's concerning sexual intercourse before completing the 40 days. So he was asked, is it allowed for a man to have sexual intercourse with his wife after she gave birth before the 40-day period is up? If he has intercourse with her after 30 or 35 days and she is clean, having no bleeding, but she has not completed the 40 days, is there any sin upon him? So the Sheikh responded by saying, it is not allowed to have intercourse with one's wife during the time of postpartum bleeding. This is when the bleeding occurs after delivery, meaning delivery of a child. If the bleeding stops before 40 days, it is disliked to have intercourse with her. However, it is allowed and there is no sin, Allah willing, upon the person, given the condition that the woman is completely free from blood and she is required to pray, fast, and so forth. So Sheikh Jibreen, rahimahullah, was also asked about the supplication of a menstruating woman. So the Sheikh was asked, does Allah accept the supplications asking forgiveness of the menstruating woman? And he responded by saying, yes, it is allowed, in fact, recommended for the menstruating woman to often supplicate, ask for Allah's forgiveness, make remembrance of Allah, and humble herself to Allah, especially during the noble times when the conditions for supplication to be answered are met. The supplication is answered for a menstruating woman and for others. So this question comes a lot, it's quite often. So we do want to stress the fact here, what the Sheikh is mentioning, and that is that a menstruating woman should make a lot of dua. Because a lot of times, especially for our new sisters, and even for older sisters, sometimes, we feel out of place when we're mincing. We're not able to offer the salah. It gets kind of awkward. However, we do have the opportunity, as has been stated here, to offer supplication, to make dua, and we should, in fact, be doing a lot of that. And that is, again, making a lot of dua, even when we're not able to pray. So the next question, sisters, was posed to Sheikh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, and it is being asked here, the prayer of a menstruating woman. So he was asked, while I was praying, my menses began. What should I do? Do I make up the prayers of the time of my menses? So he responded by saying, if the menses come after the beginning of a time for prayer, for example, if you receive your menses a half an hour after high noon, then you must make up the prayer after your bleeding has ended, since when its time began, you were in a state of purity. And so he said this is based upon Allah's statement, which is found in Surah An-Nisa, verse 103, as it is interpreted, verily the prayer is enjoined upon the believers at fixed hours. So he went on to explain, do not make up the prayers you miss while menstruating. This is based on the lengthy hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, it is not the case that when you menstruate, he said, is it not the case that when you menstruate, you do not pray or fast? So the Sheikh went on to explain further, there is a consensus of the ulama, of the scholars, that the prayers missed during menstruation are not to be made up. However, if she becomes pure, meaning her bleeding has stopped, then she has enough time to pray one rak'ah or more of a prayer, then she must pray the prayer of that time in which she became pure. And this is based on the hadith of the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he said, whoever catches one rak'ah of the Asr prayer before sunset has caught the Asr prayer. So the Shaykh went on to explain, rahimahullah, that if the woman becomes pure during the time of Asr or before sunrise, and there is enough time before sunset or sunrise to pray one rak'ah, then she prays Asr in the former case and Fajr in the latter case. So pay attention to, sisters, because, keep a calendar, mark these things down, because at the end of your mints, it might get lengthy. You might forget this matter. And since that salah is still owed upon you, it really behooves you to be careful of this matter, to not be careless or neglectful. Write it down. If your mints came and the salah had been in even 10 minutes, you owe that prayer. So you owe that salah. So write that down and make a note so that you can be vigilant about that matter and not be careless about it. And certainly with Allah is all success. The Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah was asked about the brownish or the yellowish discharge after purity. So he was asked, my period usually lasts for 6 days and sometimes 7 days. I make ghusl after I am certain that I am pure. I remain in such a state for a complete day, and then I notice a brown drop, and I do not know what is the ruling concerning that. I'm confused whether I should pray or not, or whether I should fast or not. I'm also confused concerning other deeds. What should I do in such a state? May Allah reward you. So Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah responded by saying, as long as you know the time for your period and its length, and you went through that time and then prayed and fasted, if you then see yellow or brown spotting after being in purity, such spotting does not keep you from prayer and acts of worship. He wanted to say the state of purity has a clear sign that women know, known as the white clear discharge. And if a woman sees that, that is the sign that her menses have come to an end and her state of purity is beginning. Hence, she must then make ghusl afterwards and then perform the ritual acts of worship such as prayer, fasting, reading the Quran, and so forth. Sheikh Ibn Jabreen was asked a question regarding the menstruating woman and henna. So it was asked, I heard that it is not allowed to apply henna to one's hair and hands while menstruating. This sheikh responded, rahimahullah, by saying it is allowed for the menstruating woman to apply henna to her hands and her hair while menstruating. There is no sin or harm in that. Those who say that it is prohibited or disliked have no evidence to support them. When a woman's menses in, she must make ghusl and should remove what she can of the henna. However, there is no harm in leaving what is difficult to remove. And certainly with Allah is all success. Sheikh Jabreen, rahimahullah, Ibn Jabreen was asked concerning the menstruating woman writing the Quran. So he was asked, is it allowed for a menstruating woman to recite the Quran, to use it in an example, or to use it as an evidence for something? And is it permissible for her to write verses of the Quran or hadith? So the sheikh responded by saying, there is no harm in menstruating women reading books which contain verses of the Quran or verses which are commented upon. There is no harm in her writing them as a part of an article or something similar. Similarly, it is permissible for her to quote them as a type of evidence for a ruling or to recite them like a kind of supplication. And this is not called recitation of the Quran. Similarly, she may carry books of tafsir and similar books if she needs to do so. So this is the end of the Sheikh's answer. And I just want to insert in here one more time that the noble Quran that we carry around in English language or Spanish or anything outside of Arabic, these books are tafsir. They are commentaries. So it is permissible to touch them and to read from them, and be careful that you do not touch the Arabic side. But these are considered commentaries, and so it is permissible to touch them. Now we have another question here that has been posed to Sheikh Ibn Jabreen. My monthly period fluctuates between 7 to 8 days. Sometimes on the 7th day I do not see any blood or any sign of purity. What is the ruling in that case concerning prayer, fasting, and sexual intercourse? So the sheikh responded by saying, do not be hasty until you see the white creamy discharge. This is well known among women as a sign of purity. The stopping of bleeding is not purity. Purity is when the sign that the menses has ended is seen and the period is finished. So again, he's talking about the white creamy discharge that comes at the end of the mens. So we want to be careful. Be careful, sisters, and be patient and wait to see that. that creamy discharge, and then you are to perform ghusl before doing anything, and especially doing prayer, of course, and fasting and anything, but also including marital relations. For our new sisters, don't be confused. Once your menses is completed, you have to perform ghusl before having marital relations with your husband. So Sheikh Ibn Jibreen was also asked about the blood that comes prior to the menses. Is it irregular, and one does not stop praying due to it, or does one stop praying due to it? So he was asked, 3 or 4 days before my period arrives, I get some brown spotting. I do not know the ruling concerning that. Is it pure or impure? I am in a very confused and difficult state. Should I pray or not? So this Sheikh Rahimahullah said, if the woman knows her menses by calculation, color, or timing, she stops praying when her period comes, and then she performs ghusl and prays afterwards. The blood that comes just before the period is considered irregular or abnormal blood, and one does not stop praying or fasting due to it. However, he said she must wash the blood away and keep herself clean of it for every prayer, and make ablution for every prayer. Then she then prays even if the blood continues to flow. She is treated like a mustahada, and this is the woman who is experiencing breakthrough bleeding. If she did abandon the prayer due to that bleeding, he said, then it would be safest for her to make up those prayers, and there is no hardship upon her. Inshallah. Inshallah, he said. So this concludes the segment regarding the questions regarding menstruation and postpartum bleeding. And then we will now move into questions related to the salah. So we opened this segment concerning salah with various questions that have been asked to Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah. So the first of them is the ruling concerning one who does not pray. What is the ruling concerning a person who died and he did not pray, although his parents were Muslim? How should he be dealt with concerning the washing of his body, shrouding, prayer, burial, supplication, and asking for mercy upon him? So Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, responded by saying, any sane adult person who dies and does not pray, given that he knows the Islamic ruling about prayer, is a disbeliever. He is not to be washed, nor should he be prayed over. He is not to be buried in the Muslim cemetery. His Muslim relatives do not inherit from him. In fact, his wealth is to be given to the state treasury, according to the strongest opinion among the ulama. And he went on to say, this is based on the authentic hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, between a person and kufr, which is disbelief, and shirk, and this is worshipping others besides Allah, is the abandonment of the salah. Tark salah, he said, the abandonment of the prayer. This was recorded by Imam Muslim in his Sahih. The Prophet ﷺ also said, the covenant dividing us and them is the prayer. Whoever abandons it has committed kufr, apostasy. In this case, so the Shaykh wanted to say, this was recorded by Ahmed and the compilers of the Sunnah with an authentic chain from the hadith of Buraidah. Abdullah ibn Shaqiq al-Qili, one of the noble followers, meaning the Tabi'een, stated that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ did not consider the abandonment of any act as kufr except the abandonment of the prayer. There are many ahadith and reports that with that meaning, this is concerning the one who does not pray out of laziness. He went on to say the one who refuses to accept it as being obligatory is an apostatizing disbeliever according to all of the ulama of Islam. We ask Allah to make the affairs of the Muslims good and to lead them to follow the straight path. He is the all-hearing, the responder. Wa billahi at-tawfiq. So pay attention to this ruling, this fatwa, sisters, because if one is not praying, it doesn't matter how they dress and what they do, and everybody knows them as a Muslim. If a person is not praying at all, they are not Muslim. So you find this from this sheikh here. You see this has been established with the evidences from the Prophet ﷺ that a person who is not praying, does not pray, okay, is outside of Islam. So be careful, new sisters. Don't drag your feet learning the salah. There's no excuse to take 6 months to learn how to pray. There is absolutely no excuse to take 3 years to learn how to pray. You are obligated to pray from the beginning, which means that if you are obligated to pray, you are obligated to learn to pray. So that is your priority above all else. Everything else is to learn how to pray and to establish the salah in your life. Because if you are not praying, you are not Muslim. So how about if you haven't even bothered to learn how to pray? Please be careful of this matter, sisters, because this is a very serious matter that is taken very lightly by a lot of women. Now, Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah was also asked concerning the adhan, whether or not it is permissible for a woman to call the adhan or the iqama. So the question is posed. There is a masjid in the college wherein the female students pray dhuhr. One of them makes the iqama for the prayer. Is this legally sanctioned for women? So Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah responded by saying, it is not legally sanctioned for women to give the adhan or the iqama. That is something sanctioned for men only. Now we turn to the woman praying without hijab. So the sheikh was asked, if a woman who does not pray, does not wear hijab, is forced to pray, or if her hijab is not in accordance with the Sharia, for example, some of her hair or her shin is exposed for some reason, then what is the ruling? So Sheikh bin Baz responded by saying, first, it is necessary that one realize that hijab is obligatory upon women. It is not allowed for her to abandon it or be lackadaisical regarding it. If the time for prayer comes and the woman is not properly attired or properly covered, then her situation may be broken down into the following masail or cases. So if she is not wearing hijab or is not properly covered due to circumstances forcing her to be in that state, then she prays in that situation that she is in. So again, if she is forced, then she prays in the situation that she is in. Okay, so again, this is about, women who are in countries where they are not allowed to wear hijab in public. This is getting to be an issue in some place, well, it has been actually for many, many years, where some people were actually penalized for even wearing hijab. And so we're very fortunate here in America, and again, I'm in the United States of America, to be able to observe our religion without such difficulty, alhamdulillah. So again, he says, her prayer will then be valid and there will be no sin upon her. And this is based upon Allah's statement, he says, which is found in Al-Baqarah 286, as it is interpreted, Allah does not burden a person beyond their scope. Allah will not make it legally binding upon a person that which they are not able to achieve. And also in Surah Taghabun, which is in verse 16, it's been interpreted, so keep your duty to Allah and as much as you can. Keep your duty to Allah as much as you can, meaning fear Allah in your obligation to Him as much as you can. So the Sheikh wanted to explain, rahimahullah, however, if the woman is not wearing hijab or is not properly covered out of a voluntary choice, such as following the customs or the mood of the people, and the lack of hijab here means not covering her face and hands, then her prayer is correct. But she is committing a sin if she is doing that in the presence of men that she is not related to. Furthermore, he said, if she is uncovering her shin, her forearms, her hair on her head, and so forth, then this is not permissible for her to pray in that state. If she prays in that state, her prayer is not valid, and she is committing a sin on 2 counts. First, he said she is sinful because she is not covering herself in general. And second, she is sinful for performing the prayer in that state. وَبِاللَّهِ التَّوْفِيقِ, he stated. And with Allah is all success. So now we have a question that was posed to the Sheikh regarding uncontrollable urine flow. So he was asked, a pregnant woman in her 9th month had uncontrollable urine flows all the time, and therefore she stopped praying during that final month. Should she have stopped praying, and what should she do now? So the Sheikh responded by saying, the woman and others like her should not stop praying. In fact, it is obligatory upon her to pray while in that state. She should make ablution for the time of every prayer, like the mustahadah. She should keep herself clean to the best of her ability from the discharge by using a pad or something of that nature. She should perform the prayers in their times. It is also legal for her to perform voluntary prayers during their times. She may also combine 2 prayers of Dhuhr and Asr, as well as combining Maghrib and Isha, like the Mustahadah. He said, and this is based on Allah's statement, which is found in Surah Taghabun, verse 16. Again, so keep your duty to Allah. Fattaqullah, he said, mastata'tum, as much as you can. As much as you can. So be mindful of Allah, sisters, and fear Him as much as you can. So the Sheikh wanted to say, she must make up the prayers that she missed while at the same time repenting to Allah by remorse and resolving never to do that again. He, as Allah has stated, as it is interpreted, and repent all of you to Allah, O believers, that you may be successful. وَبِاللَّهِ التَّوْفِيقِ, and with Allah is all success. We now turn to the hukm or the ruling concerning women covering their hands and feet during the prayer. So Sheikh bin Baz was asked, what is the ruling concerning covering the hands and feet in the prayer? Is it obligatory upon a woman, or is it allowed for her to uncover them in particular if there are non-related men around her, or if she is in a group of women? So the Sheikh responded by saying, as for the face, it is sunnah for her to uncover it during the prayer if there are no non-related men around her. As for the feet, it is obligatory upon her to cover them according to the majority of the ulama. Some of the scholars allow the feet to be uncovered, but the majority say that it is prohibited to uncover them, and she must cover them. And Abu Dawood recorded that Salama radiallahu anha was asked about a woman praying in a head covering and long gown, and she said there is no harm in that as long as the gown covers the top of her feet. So covering the feet is better and safest under all circumstances. As for the hands, the situation is simpler. If she uncovers them, there is no harm, and if she covers them, there is no harm. Some scholars say that it is better to cover them, and from Allah, yani comes guidance to the correct path. So this is the Sheikh's answer regarding covering the feet. So again, as long as the feet are covered by your prayer garment or whatever you're using to pray in, as long as it's long enough to come down over your feet, it is not necessary to put on socks per se. We now turn to the hukm or the ruling concerning praying while wearing gloves. So Sheikh bin Baz was asked, what is the ruling concerning praying while wearing gloves? And he responded, there is no harm in a woman praying while wearing gloves, since she has been ordered to cover herself in the prayer except for her face when there are no non-related men around. Wearing gloves covers the hands. If, however, she covers the hands with her outer garments, that is sufficient. You're going to say that if non-related men are around, then she must cover her face as well as the rest of the body. And as for men, it is not sanctioned for them to cover their hands in the prayer, not with gloves or anything else. In fact, it is a sunnah for them to directly touch with the skin of their hands, the face, the place of their prayer, in imitation of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his companions. Wa billahi at-tawfiq, and with Allah is all success. Sheikh bin Baz was also asked about the times in which the hands are raised during the prayer. So it was asked of him, to what level does one raise his hands in the prayer, opposite the shoulders or to the ears? Is this done repeatedly in the prayer or just in the first rak'ah? And then Sheikh responded by saying, it is preferred to raise the hands opposite the shoulder or the ears when making the first takbir, when bowing, and when coming up from bowing. It is also done when standing from the first sitting during the Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha prayers. These are all confirmed in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And with Allah is all success. We turn to now the placing of the hands during the salah. So the Shaykh was asked, before and after bowing, where does one place his hands during the prayer? Sheikh bin Baz responded, it is sunnah to put one's hands on the chest while standing in the prayer, both before the bowing and afterwards. It is confirmed in authentic hadith from Wa'il ibn Hujr, who said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ when he was standing in the prayer, putting his right hand over the back of his left hand, wrist, and forearm. And the Shaykh said that this was recorded by Abu Dawood and Nasa'i with an authentic chain. Similarly, Imam Ahmed recorded with a good chain that the Prophet ﷺ used to put his right hand over his left hand upon his chest while standing in the prayer. And this is also what Al-Bukhari recorded in the Sahih from Sahal ibn Sa'd through Abu Hazm, who said the people were ordered to put their right hands over the left forearms in the prayer. Abu Hazm, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I knew that the order was from the Prophet ﷺ. This indicates that while standing in prayer, the person puts his right hand on his left. This is general for every standing, before the bowing and afterwards. And with Allah is all success. So let's be clear on this matter, because especially our new sisters, when you go into the masajid and you're praying in congregation in various places, you will see some people when they coming back up from ruku' will keep their hands to the side. But you hear the Shaykh is saying here that this is general for every standing. He said, before bowing and afterwards. So before we go into ruku', the hands are on the chest. And when we return to standing, coming out of ruku', the hands return to the chest. So don't be discouraged or confused when you see others putting their hands to the side. You heard the Sheikh's statement here. So practice that in your own salah and be firm in that, because you have the evidence here. Now this Sheikh is being asked about going into prostration. Do we go down with the hands, with the knees or the hands? So Sheikh bin Baz, he was asked, what is more proper? Putting the hands down first on the ground or putting the knees down first while prostrating? So the Sheikh responded by saying, the more proper way is to place the knees down and then the hands then the face, based on the hadith of Wa'il and others with similar meaning. And with Allah is all success. So the next question has been posed to the Sheikh is regarding the waswas while in Salah. And this waswas is the whisperings of the khanzib that comes to us, this devil that comes to us in the prayer to distract us. So the Sheikh was asked, I get confused a lot concerning how many rak'ahs I perform, even though I pray in a loud voice in order to remember what I have recited. However, I still get doubts. When I finish the prayer, I feel that I have missed a rak'ah, prostration or sitting, even though I try very hard not to have doubts during my prayer. But still, this is without benefit. I hope you will guide me to what will benefit me in such a case. Do I have to repeat the prayer when I have such confusion? Is there some supplication I can make at the beginning of the prayer that will remove such confusion? So Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, responded by saying, you must fight against such waswas and be cautious about it. You must increase your seeking of refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan or Satan. He said that Allah has said, as it is interpreted into English, say, I seek refuge with Allah, the Rabb of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the whisperer who withdraws from his whispering, to the end of the surah. And this is from Surah An-Nas. And he also, he said that Allah also says, and this is found in A'raf, verse 200, as it is interpreted, and if an evil whisper comes to you from shaitan, then seek refuge with Allah. Verily, he is all hearer, all knower. So Sheikh bin Baz went on to explain, if you have finished your prayer or ablution and then such doubts come to your mind, then turn away from them and don't give them any attention. Consider your prayer and ablution as proper and sound. If doubts come to you while you are praying, such as whether you have prayed 3 or 4 rak'ah, then consider them as 3 and finish your prayer. And then he says, offering 2 prostrations of forgetfulness before the salutations at the end of the prayer. This is what the Prophet ﷺ ordered one who has similar doubts to do. We seek refuge, he said. We seek refuge in Allah for ourselves and you from shaitan. And with Allah is all success. How about when the doorbell rings? So the Sheikh was asked, if I am praying and somebody rings the doorbell and nobody is in the house except me, what should I do? So Sheikh bin Baz responded by saying, if the prayer is a voluntary prayer, the matter is much easier, as there is nothing from preventing you from stopping your prayer and seeing who is at the door. However, if it is an obligatory prayer, then you should not rush your prayer unless it is something very important that you fear will be missed. If possible, you may alert the person at the door that you are busy in prayer by saying Subhanallah for men or clapping for women, and that would be sufficient. And then he brought an evidence from the Prophet ﷺ, quote, if anything happens to someone during the prayer, the men should say Subhanallah and the women should clap. He said again that the men should say Subhanallah and the women should clap. So the Sheikh wanted to explain that if you can make it clear to the one at the door that you are in prayer by the man saying Subhanallah and the woman clapping, then you should do that. However, if that will not help because the door is far away and the person will not hear you, then there is no harm in you breaking off the prayer, in particular if it is a voluntary prayer. If it is an obligatory prayer, you should only do that if it is expected that it is something very important. In that case, you may break off the prayer and then repeat it from its beginning afterwards. And he said, and all praise belongs to Allah. and with Allah is all success. So Sheikh bin Baz was also asked about a woman praying in her house and following the Imam. So the Sheikh was asked, my mother lives next to a congregational masjid. Between her and the masjid is a small street. She hears the adhan and the prayer, and she continues to follow the Imam in her prayer in her house. Is that allowable for her? If it is not allowed, what should she do about the prayers that she performed in that manner over the years? I hope you can benefit us in this matter. May Allah reward you. So the Sheikh responded by saying, if the situation is as you mentioned in the question, she cannot follow the Imam in the masjid in her prayer unless she sees the Imam or some of the rows of the followers. If she does not see any of them, then the strongest opinion among the statements of the ulama is that she does not follow the Imam in the prayer. And as for what has passed of her prayers, she does not have to repeat them, if Allah wills, because there is no clear evidence that they are invalid prayers. This question is an area, he said, of ijtihad, and that is for the scholars to reason the answer. So that he said the safest and strongest opinion is as we have mentioned, and with Allah is all success. So now Sheikh bin Baz is being asked about reading from a copy of the Quran during the Tahajjud prayer. So he was asked, is it allowed to read from a Quran during the late night or the Tahajjud prayer, since I have memorized very little and I desire to finish the Quran during the late night prayers? So the Sheikh responded by saying, there is no harm in that. He said, the Quran, the freed slave of Aisha, radiallahu anhum, used to lead them in prayer during Ramadan, reading from a mushaf of the Quran. Al-Bukhari recorded that in his Sahih with a definitively stated discontinuous chain. And this is the opinion of a large number of scholars. Those who don't follow it have no evidence to support them. Not everyone has the Quran memorized, and therefore there is a need to read it from a mushaf of the Quran in the prayer and otherwise. This is especially true for the late night prayers and during the night prayers of Ramadan for those who have not memorized the Quran in their hearts. And with Allah is all success. We now turn to the ruling concerning raising one's hands during the supplication of the Witr Salah. So then the Sheikh was asked, what is the ruling concerning raising one's hands during Witr prayer? And he responded, it is legally sanctioned to raise one's hands during the supplications of the Witr prayer. This is because it is similar to the supplications during the times of affliction. It is confirmed that the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hands while supplicating during times of affliction. This was recorded by Al-Bayhaqi. May Allah have mercy upon him, with an authentic chain, and with Allah is all success. So just to clarify, Witr prayer. Witr prayer is the odd rak'ah after one has offered the sunnah rak'ah after Isha. So after the Isha prayer, Salatul Isha, then one would offer Witr, which would be preceded by 2 rak'ahs and then taslim, and then perhaps 2 more rak'ahs and taslim, and so forth. And then we always conclude with 1 odd rak'ah, and this is the Witr. So this is what's being mentioned here about the Witr prayer, and then in the supplication, because and that for our new sisters during that part of the prayer, we would be making a supplication to Allah. So that's what this is concerning. So now we turn to Witr during the first part of the night, and then getting up in the latter part of the night. So Sheikh bin Baz was asked, if I perform the Witr prayer during the first part of the night, and then I woke up during the latter part of the night, then how shall I pray? So the Sheikh responded by saying, If you have performed your witr during the first part of the night, and then Allah made it easy for you to get up in the latter part of the night, then pray whatever Allah has made easy for you in sets of 2 without performing another witr. And this is because of the Prophet ﷺ said there is not to be 2 witrs in one night. There is not to be 2 witr in one night. And then the Shaykh went on to say, furthermore, Aisha reported the Prophet ﷺ used to pray 2 rakahs after witr while he was sitting. The wisdom behind that, and Allah knows best, is to show the people that it is permissible to pray after the witr prayer. So take a note about this, that it is permissible to pray again in the latter part of the night if you happen to wake up. This is a good thing to do, and you do not offer another odd rakah. Do not offer another odd rakah. And also, he's pointing out sets of 2 here, meaning again to pray rakah 10 and taslim, meaning make 2 rakahs and then taslim out, and then go on from there. So he says sets of 2. So that's 2 rakah and then taslim, and then again 2 rakah as one feels in taslim. So the last time for the witr prayer. So Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah was asked, what is the latest time in which one may catch the witr prayer? He responded by saying, it is the last portion of the night before dawn, since the Prophet alayhi salam said, the late night prayer is 2 and then 2. If one of you fears the coming of the morning, he should pray 1 rakah, and that will make all that he prayed an odd number. And this hadith, he said, is agreed upon by Al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, and with Allah is all success. So, mashallah tabarakallah, yani you have up until dawn to offer the witr. Now we find the ruling of a woman uncovering her hair and uncovering her hands and feet during the prayer. So again, he was asked, what is the ruling concerning uncovering of the hands and feet of the woman in the prayer, given that she is not in the presence of men but alone in her home? So the Sheikh respond, and this is Sheikh Uthaymeen, by the way. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen responded by saying, the well-known opinion among the Hanbalis is that a free adult woman should cover all of herself except her face for the prayer. Based on that, it is not allowed for her to uncover her hands and feet. Many of the ulama say that it is allowed for the woman to uncover her face and hands. What is safest is for the women to avoid all of that. However, assuming that she did not uncover that and she comes to ask about it, a person should not be so bold as to ask her to repeat her prayers. So again, he said that that if she did uncover that and she comes and she asks about it, he said she should not be told to repeat her prayers. And with Allah is all success. So dear sisters, this brings an end to part 5 of the book Fataawaa al-Mar'a. I ask Allah to reward all of our sisters who continue to follow the program, and I ask Him to write it for the benefit of myself and for all of those who facilitate this, and particularly for the scholars that we are passing on the fatwa regarding women. And if I have made any mistakes in what I have presented, myself personally, then this is from myself and shaitan, and I ask Allah to forgive me for that. And again, if there's anything that you take an exception to, please contact me. If it's out and out mistake, allow me to correct it. And if it's just a misunderstanding, allow me to clarify it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Exalted are you, O Allah, and all praises for you. I bear witness that there is no God except you. I ask your forgiveness and I repent to you. Ameen. I do hope that you return with us next week. Tune in again and continue to follow us, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.